Hello world, my name is Dana ID Matthews and welcome to my reviews about stuff episode 3. Today I'm getting into a gaming series, an overall phenomenon that made a lot of people's childhoods around the world if you grew up in the 90s especially, and that is of course Pokemon. More specifically, the first Pokemon games in the new sixth generation Pokemon X and Y. So just to make things easier for me and you, I'm going to break my review up into categories. Graphics, gameplay, storyline, difficulty, soundtrack, and overall impression. So without further ado, let's get started. Pokemon X and Y. Now, if you grew up with the generation 1 to 5 Pokemon games as I have, then you'll clearly notice this game is oozing in nostalgia. That's a given. But what makes this new generation so impressive is obviously the new upgraded 3D Pokemon look. Pokemon got a facelift. When I was young, I always wondered how cool my Pokemon would look if they were either one, real, or animated in dope 3D graphics. And before this new 6th generation, the closest thing that we got was either Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Stadium for the N64. So it's been a long time coming, and I can't say that I'm not impressed. I don't know much about the ins and outs and specs of graphics, but personally, I don't see many issues. I haven't played the other Pokemon games that have been released, Ruby and Sapphire or Sun and Moon, so I don't know if they have better graphics than X and Y, but if this is the beginning standard, I am on board, and can only be more impressed if they improve. From the cutscenes to the gameplay, playing Pokemon now is 20% cooler because it's a good looking game to the point where I catch myself using certain Pokemon or moves just to see how cool they look when being used. And that brings us straight into gameplay, and what more can I say, but you get the classic turn-based Pokemon formula. With a new added twist of fairy Pokemon in the game, so the super effective and not very effective system is a little different now. And personally, I think it's a nice little touch to switch things up from the norm without going too crazy and risk losing old fans. Like I mentioned before, the battling is 20% cooler because it looks better. Every move you use is a very visual, stimulating light show with, of course, many variations of actions based on the move type. But basically, you use a move like Surf, a big realistic wave of cartoon water comes through. You use a move like Flamethrower, full 3D flames coming at your face. It just looks cool. I can't say enough. The special effects are definitely a plus. Now, the thing I have to mention though, as a small negative in the game, is the camera angles. Specifically, really dreadful in Lumio City, which is the biggest and main city in the game. So that got a little frustrating. Very easy to get lost, and the camera just feels awkward at times. At the end of the day, it didn't really hamper my experience overall. But if I had to pick something for them to fix, it would be that. But hey, for Pokemon's first crack at 3D, for me, not that big of a deal. A cool little addition to the new Pokemon games that I found cool was that you get roller skates. At first, I was disappointed because I thought they were replacements for the bikes from the older generations, and I love the bikes. But once I got a bike as I played, further through the game, I really appreciated the new addition that much more. And the cool little rollerblade tricks you can get in the game along the way. I always liked watching the rollerblade part of the X games on TV when I was young. So it made me feel kind of cool doing the tricks in the Pokemon game. A little, unexpected, but very much appreciated tidbit there. When it comes to the story, realistically, it's so-so. I do like how the newer Pokemon stories are more psychological and morally driven rather than, just black and white, you're good, they're bad. They add a little extra depth in the bad men and women characters and boss, and in this case, Team Flare. A little bit of criticism here for future Pokemon games. I would love to see, the bad people, or Team Flare in this case, or whatever. I would love to see their character development feel a little more natural, maybe even unexpected. It felt like they were kind of just put in there, needed to stretch out the game. You should throw Poke fans for a loop story wise, because as long as the gameplay and nostalgic aspects of Pokemon remain the same, switching up the story shouldn't be much of an issue, in my opinion. Difficulty wise, Pokemon X and Y is even easier than its predecessors. I think the new addition of getting an XP share so early in the game, and one that shares half of your XP to all the Pokemon in your party, it's really not that hard to train up your Pokemon, and I imagine a good amount of people could beat the Elite Four and Champion by leveling up through trainer battles almost exclusively. And to be honest, I wished it were a bit harder, or there were an option to make it harder, but I understand why it's not. Realistically, there are a lot of young and new Pokemon fans, and making the learning curve easier makes it more accessible for everybody, and at the end of the day, the Pokemon Online experience is pretty extensive, so finding a challenging opponent is not hard. The fun factor of the game more than makes up for its lag in difficulty. The way the game sounds, the soundtrack is exactly what you would expect from a Pokemon game. Tons of nostalgia, walking through the routes and towns, same Pokemon Center music. Of course, there are minor tweaks to the music here and there, but the same recognizable melodies can be heard through your whole playthrough. And if you've played before, you will definitely get the feels, thinking about your childhood while listening to the well-known tunes. Overall, I don't have, many negative things to say. It's a dope game. It looks good. It plays good. A little bit lacking in the story, but good enough to keep you engaged. Tons of neat little side quests. Tons of stuff to do in Pokemon to catch after the final main story segments. Look, it's a world popular anime and game series for a reason. It's super fun for all ages. It's super addicting and filled with lore that people online will probably debate about until the end of time. And, with that said, I give Pokemon X and Y my official rating of 9 out of 10. Sick. It wouldn't be right to give it anything lower than that. And only reason I don't give it a 9.5 dope is to give future Pokemon game reviews room for improvement. It's already such a good game. But not too much room, because as far as handheld systems go, at least in my opinion, Pokemon is already, at the top. They're the cream of the crop. With that said, that's it for me. My name is Dana ID Matthews. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see ya when I see ya. Peace out. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching Dana's Reviews About Stuff Episode 3. I do a bunch of stuff. I do spoken word poetry, I rap, I make music videos. Check them out. Check them all out, Okay, goodbye. See you next week.